Thank you guys so much for allowing me the opportunity, my family and I, the opportunity to be here with you guys today. Thank you to Jay and the Chamber and the Council that you work with for allowing us to be here. To be honest, this is a very humbling experience for me. You know, I'm sitting over here and I'm eating the lunch and I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking to myself, I listened to everybody introduce themselves and all of your guys' titles. And I thought to myself, this is super humbling. And to be honest, I'm not sure that I'm worthy of being up here to speak to people that are so diverse. So thank you guys so much. I just want to take a few moments of your time and just kind of maybe bring some perspective. One of the things that I have the opportunity to do from time to time is speak on leadership. It's one of my passions, is to help people flourish and help people grow. So I just want to take a few moments while you guys are eating and just kind of try to invest what I can into you on my perspective of what true leadership looks like. I was trying to, as I was coming up with this, I was really trying to figure out what I was going to title this speech. And some weeks ago when I was asked to do this, I had come up with something generic at the time, but nothing ever really stuck. And I was actually on my way here today. I had written the speech, everything was done, but I never had a title. And I started reading through this and it just kind of hit me. So I decided to title this speech, "You Matter More Than Me." And I want to start by giving you guys a quote. Can I take this off here? Is that okay? There we go. You guys are a lot taller than me, so I'm a little vertically challenged. So I just wanted to start by giving you guys a quote that I often find myself reflecting on. It says that the wound is a place where the light enters. It's a beautiful testament to our own vulnerabilities and how they shape us, inspire us, and propel us to lead with passion and authenticity. I think many of the stories that fill this room today, stories of struggle, of triumph, of overcoming obstacles, of dreams both realized and for many of us maybe still in the making. And it is these stories, our stories, that form the greatest of leadership. You see, leadership to me, it's not about titles and it's not about hierarchy. It's not about the loudest voice in the room or the weight of responsibility that someone might bear. True leadership is about the moments that we find light in the wound, the struggle, the strength in our challenges, and the drive to inspire others through our own journey. Leadership begins with self-awareness for me. Knowing myself, acknowledging our strengths and embracing our weaknesses. Because once we accept ourselves, we begin to lead with authenticity. We become genuine, transparent, and yes, even vulnerable. And it is in this vulnerability that connects us with each other. I remember not too long ago in my life, facing one of the most challenging periods of my life, a time when everything seemed to be on the verge of falling apart. And it was during this time and this period that I truly comprehended the depths of that quote. It was in my own vulnerabilities that enabled me to connect to those around me and to lead from a place of authority. Not only from a place of authority, but from a place of genuine understanding and empathy. You see, I got a call from my friend some time ago, and I remember sitting in my house and he gives me a call and he says, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, I'm just relaxing at the house." He says, "Hey, do you mind if I come over?" And I said, I looked around the room, and if you're anything like me, I got kids, I got life, business, my house is a wreck. So I look around my house and with great hesitation and slight panic in my heart, I said, "Can you give me 30 or 40 minutes? And he says, yeah, I'll give you 30 or 40 minutes. So in that 30 or 40 minutes, I'm running around the house and I'm picking up clothes and I'm shoving the dishes into the dishwasher and I'm picking up kids' stuff and I take it all and I throw it into the closet in the hallway. Maybe none of you guys have done that, but that's a reoccurring event in my house when somebody wants to come over. So after about 30-40 minutes, I'm sweeping the floor, and I just get done, and I'm running through the house, and I'm spraying air freshener. And all of a sudden I hear ding dong, and I see him poking his head through my window. So I open up the door and I say, "Come on in." And he comes in. He said, "Man, your house smells amazing." I said, "Thanks, man." So I said, "Come in and have a seat." And he comes in, he takes off his shoes, and he sits down on the couch, and we begin to talk, and he looks around the house, and he says, "Man, your house is beautiful." I said, thank you very much." Little did he know that the closet hinges were busting at the seams, about to blow open from all the mess that I just put in there. So we're sitting there talking for a few minutes, and he says, "Hey man, do you mind if I use your restroom?" So he goes to the restroom, he gets done, he comes out, and he says, "Hey, do you mind if I hang my jacket up? I'm getting a little hot." And my heart skips a couple beats, and I just kind of sit back. Little does he know. And no sooner does he touch the door handle on that closet, he begins to twist, and it comes bursting open, and kids' toys fly all over him, and shoes and clothes and everything else come barreling in on him. And so he kind of looks up with me with a surprised look on his face and with a little bit of sarcasm, and he says, "Things aren't always what they seem, huh?" You see, as leaders, it's not our job to have all the answers. Instead, it's about asking the right questions. And in that situation, it's easy for us as leaders, maybe as business owners, employees, as we're leading our teams, it's easy for us to put on a mask and try to make sure that we're on the up and up and make sure that everything's good. We're not showing any weakness to our staff, because by showing weakness, well, we're showing vulnerability. And we want to come off as strong leaders. We want to come off as confident leaders, right? But the thing is in the short amount of time that I've been here on earth, in the 39 years that I have been here, I've had the opportunity to sit underneath some people that are a lot wiser than me and greater leaders than me. And I've learned that in those vulnerabilities, in those moments of transparency, if you will, that those are the things that draw us together. And so it's not about having all the right answers, but it is about asking the right questions. It's about guiding our teams with vision, but also about listening. And I'm talking about truly listening. Hearing the heartbeat of your team will not only help you to connect with them, but it will also help you to know how to lead them in the place that they will best receive what you have to say. It's about encouraging them to seek the light within their own wounds, to harness their own strengths, and bring the best versions of themselves to work every single day. You see, at Farmhouse Coffee, we've been open now since April 21st. And we've had the opportunity to hire some younger people. And one of the things that I try to strive for, that we push for in our culture at Farmhouse, is that we want people to feel like family. Truly feel like family. When they come in, we have the open door policy that if you're having a rough day at home or whatever the case might be, and you need some time to sit in the back for a few minutes to collect yourself, to become the best version of yourself for our business, when you step out onto the floor, we allow you that time. If you need somebody to talk to or a shoulder to lean on, we're there. But Farmhouse Coffee for me goes way beyond a cup of coffee. You see, my passion is to help people realize and reach their full potential. And I'm going to get into it later on here in just a minute, but one of the things that I want us to, if there's anything, I guess, that you could take away from me, it would be that we want to leave people better than the way that we found them. We want to invest into people and leave them sharper, stronger, mentally, emotionally, better people than the way that we found them. So to those of you that might be embarking on your leadership journey, or those that have years under your belt, I would urge you to lead from your heart as much as you do your mind. And be present. Be genuine. Share your stories and encourage others to share theirs. Because every story has power. The power to inspire, to teach, and to drive change. It is important that we find value in those that we are leading and not forget all the good that those around us have done to help us get to our goal. You know, I'm reminded of a story of this king and his servants. And the king would go around and he would order the servants to do certain things. And anytime a servant would have a disagreement with him or have a different idea, he would send these servants to this dungeon to be eaten alive by these dogs. And one day he was going through his city and he told this servant to do X, Y, or Z. And the servant had a different mindset, a different idea. And so the king, just like any other time, ordered this servant to be sentenced to this dungeon to be eaten alive by these dogs. And so the servant looks at the king and he says, "King, before you send me to this dungeon, because you're going to anyway, can you give me 10 days? That's all I ask, just 10 days. And so the king looks at the servant reluctantly and says, "Okay, 10 days, that's it. But after 10 days, you're going to the dungeon." So over the course of those next 10 days, this servant would go to the gatekeeper of the dogs and he would say, "Hey, I'm here to serve your dogs." So over those 10 days, he would feed the dogs and he would walk the dogs and he would bathe the dogs. And at the end of the 10 days, the king came back and he says, "Okay, off to the dungeon." So the king sentences him off to the dungeon and he tells the gatekeeper, throw him in the dungeon. So he opens the gate and he throws him inside and the dogs just sit there. And the king says, "What have you done to my dogs?" to the gatekeeper. And so the servant collects himself and gets back up off the floor from being thrown inside the dungeon and he says, "Your gatekeeper has done nothing to the dogs. You see, over the course of 10 days, I've served your dogs. I've bathed them. I've fed them. I've walked them. And just in 10 short days, they have not forgotten all the good that I have done for them. But I've been working for you for many years, and over one mistake, you have forgotten all the good that I have done for you." So my encouragement to that story is just to simply tell you that find value in those that you're working with. In the midst of the goal, in the midst of the trial, in the midst of all the things that you got going on in your day-to-day life, find the value in the ones that you're working next to. And find a reason to build them up and push them to their full potential in life. Because when you do that, you're going to see people blossom. When you listen and you truly hear the heartbeat of your team, you're going to watch leadership in somebody that could be stifled if you don't listen. And they'll find themselves in another place that they are heard, and you'll watch them bloom somewhere else. And you'll watch them make somebody else money. You'll watch them make somebody else's business flourish. I've often been asked, what makes a great leader? And although there's many things that come to mind, one stands above the rest to me. And that's the ability to inspire. To light a spark in someone and watch it grow into a roaring flame. To make them believe not in you as the leader, but in themselves. In this ever-changing world filled with uncertainty and challenges, let us not forget the most potent tool that we possess, and that is our authenticity. As leaders, we should strive to be the light for those searching for direction and the pillar of for those in need. And most importantly, to be the genuine versions of ourselves, showing the world leadership isn't about perfection, but it's about embracing our flaws and turning them into strengths. I started in business in 2018. And I don't know who in this room knows me. I see a few familiar faces around the room, but my wife and I started in business in 2018, and I opened a landscape company. And everybody around me was very cautious and was like, "You're making a mistake," because I was leaving a very good job to go pursue a passion and a dream in entrepreneurship. And I remember buying I think it cost me $25 or $50. I bought a push mower off of Facebook Marketplace. And as a matter of fact, I was still using my previous company's truck at the time to throw the push mower in the back, and I'd work all day for them, and then I would go at night and work till dark mowing grass, and I would save money and slowly grow. And over the course of the next year, even to be completely honest with you, I think it even scared my wife a little bit. But over the course of the next year, I just told her, I said, "Just give me a chance. That's all I'm asking for." You see, in my life, I have found that there's two kinds of people in leadership. There's those that have kind of had the road paved for them. They've come from good families and good homes, and they've met their success at an early age, and there wasn't much struggle. And then there's those that have had to crawl and scratch their way to get to that same level. And so earlier when I said that I didn't feel like I really deserved to be up here talking to you, trying to lead you or inspire you, that's because I was one of those individuals that had to crawl and scratch my way. And I'd like to share just a little bit about me to help maybe inspire you. When I was 3 days old, my mother gave me up for adoption. I've never met my real father. And at the age of 14, I was taken out of my adopted home from abuse. And I'm not talking about getting, a rough spanking every now and again. I had guns put in my face. Major abuse. At the age of 14, I was actually taken in by a set of pastors from a church that I went to. And they raised me up, and they allowed me to stay in their home. And I grew up with a lot of insecurity and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of self-worth issues. And for years and years and years, I struggled with those things. As a matter of fact, when I first started in business, I was kind of that guy that didn't have the idea of exactly what I wanted to do. And if you ask my wife, it probably drove her nuts. But I had my hands in 15 different things. At one time I was going to be a photographer. And then I was a graphics designer. And then I was going to make t-shirts and sell them on Amazon. And every single idea I ever had was a great idea until it wasn't. And finally, I had somebody that's another business owner, a friend of mine. He looked at me and he said, "Charlie, I heard this quote one time that reminds me a lot of you." And I sat back and I listened to him. And the quote that he gave me made me walk away feeling less than. He said, "A man of many talents, yet a master of none." And he said, it might be a good idea if you just focused in on one thing, got a good job, and pursued that. And for years of my life, I took that quote and I held it to heart. And again, I didn't feel like I was enough. And maybe there's somebody in this room that you're doing what you want to do. Or maybe you haven't achieved the goal that you've set out to reach yet. And maybe you can relate. And it wasn't until after I started my landscape company, and I'm a few years in, I had this really old wise man that was a business owner. I was sitting down with him at lunch and was telling him that story, and he said, "Charlie, there's a second half to that quote, right?" And I kind of sat back, and I'm talking 10 years, right? Here I am years down the road. He said, the quote is actually not a man of many talents, a master of one. He said the quote is actually a man of many talents, a master of one, or a master of none, is oftentimes better than a master of one. He said, you have a purpose for your life. All these things that you keep chasing and you keep dabbling in, one of these days something's going to stick for you. He said, and my encouragement to you is not to pull you away from those things, but to help hone in on what the craft is, what that groove is that you're meant to do. And I want to leave you guys with this. The power to inspire, to lead, and to make a difference is within each one of us. We just have to tap into it and be the example and hear the heartbeat of our teams. Because helping those around us realize and reach the full potential is and should be the goal. Now, I'm a firm believer in leaving people better than the way that you found them. I don't know what kind of difference I'm going to make for Hobart or for the surrounding areas as we grow as a business. But I can tell you, whether success or fail, my heart is for you. My heart is for the people. My heart is to make average people great. I was once told by a friend of mine, he said, what takes a person from average to great? And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. He goes, think about it for a while and come back to me. So the next time I seen him, he says, what takes a person from average to great? And I said, I'm not sure. He said, the answer is super simple. It's and then some. See, what you're willing to do as a leader, what you're willing to put yourself under, the stress of running a business on your own or trying to build something, working on commission, I don't know what your case is. But what you're putting on your plate compared to what the average person won't do is what's going to bring you to success. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen overnight or it's going to happen right now. But it will happen. If you would have asked me 5 years ago or 6 years ago or even in 2017, if I would see myself sitting here right now speaking to a group of people, the answer would be no way. No way. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment that in my daughter's room ice grew on the wall because there was barely any insulation in the wall. What drives me to be who I am is not for me. You see, I have a five-year-old little girl. Her name's Charlie Abigail. I have a beautiful wife. I have another daughter named Savannah. We have a great staff over at Farmhouse Coffee. What drives me is them. What drives me, even though I don't know you personally, is truly you. Because if there's one person in this room that has heard anything that I have to say and has inspired you even a little bit to slow down and appreciate the things that you have in life, that's all worth it for me. So my encouragement in closing is simply, as you guys go on about your business, whether it be that you're working for somebody, you're leading a council, or you're a business owner, or even here at the casino, look for ways to leave people better than the way that you found them. Thank you.